It's grinding away real slow. What's happening?
No, we're live, man.
We're alive. I was sitting here watching. I was getting one of those spinning circles of death, and so I wasn't sure if we were live or not. But we are definitely live. I am Justin, also known as the DIY Audio Guy, and I'm here as always for the Sound Advice live stream with my partner in crime, the one and only Nick from Toys DIY Audio. Nick, tell us what is up.
I don't know. Not much that I know of. There's too much that's up that I know. You know what? Politics probably.
Politics.
Johnny Depp, Amber Heard.
Oh yeah, Amber Heard. That's I didn't really keep up with the trial that much, though I saw plenty of little snippets that were on social media here and there, and man, what a train wreck.
Slamology.
Did you make it to Slamology?
I hid in the back of someone's car and they never found me.
I'd like to go next year. I thought about going this year, but wasn't able to make it. But anybody in the chat go to Slamology? I'm sure someone in the chat went to Slamology. I don't know if
regular guy audio said he's retiring. I wonder if he means he's retiring from streaming.
Appreciate you fellas. He's retiring. Yep. We got all kind of good people in the chat. There's Sean Mullins, Mullen Performance Audio. He was at Slamology. I think I saw some pictures on Facebook. Blake says he wishes he could have gone. We got a good crowd in here. Jimmy D is here. I don't think we've seen Jimmy D before. I don't recognize the name. Thanks for coming by to see us. I got a couple of starred comments that I wanted to bring up. And the
one thing to say too is Mullins Performance Audio said he went and he actually put some videos up as well.
Yes. I saw some stuff on Facebook. I didn't see any on YouTube yet. And Regular Guy Audio opens up the show with a $10 super chat. RGA, thank you so very much. We appreciate you a lot. We enjoy watching your content, and we are glad to have you as a part of our community. And we especially appreciate the super chat. That makes us get warm and fuzzy. Yes, sir.
And I especially like his logo. The Duck Hunt dog.
It is the Duck Hunt dog, isn't it?
Yeah, man, it's Duck Hunt dog. That thing is awesome.
Oh, yeah. I remember playing that game. That was so much fun.
I always hated when that dog came up. You always wanted to shoot more. You're like, I don't have any bullets to shoot you, for crying out loud.
A couple of comments that popped up before we got on that I wanted to bring up. Aaron from Aaron's Audio Corner is hanging out with us tonight. Aaron, we do have to get you on again sometime. We had a good time the last time you were on the show. Is asking if anyone has built the Overnight Sensations and is going to start testing them. I've not built them. Nick, have you built the Overnight Sensations?
So yeah, I did. I built them in the Salva boombox though. So I actually have them in the game room right next door. But yeah, I have built some. They're impressive for their size and price. Although I don't know what the cost is anymore. When I built them, they were like $60 a pair.
They're a little more expensive, I think, now.
Yeah,
inflation's getting to them.
So I mean, that's kind of the whole thing, right? Like, when it was $60, it was a great deal. But I have no idea what they cost now. Although I guess probably everything went up in price. Oh wow, they say 160. Maybe they were 120. Maybe they're 60 each.
That sounds right. That sounds right. The other thing, I've not built them. I just finished building the C notes, and the C notes were originally supposed to be $100 for the pair. A C note, and they're up to 150. So they're the 1.5 C notes. So I wish I had me a Kipple. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, so I could test them for sure. But just listening to them, they sounded just fine. Meant to get that video out this last weekend, but didn't make my deadline on a Sunday drop. So that happens sometimes. And let me hear.
RGA gave us another $5 chat, and he goes, "The extra $5 is for stupid inflation."
Yeah, it's about what inflation's running these days. Yeah, thank you again for the now $15 worth of super chats. I appreciate that.
It's pretty true though. But you know what? I think the Overnight Sensations are a fun little build for a lot of people. I think they're the ones that kind of get people started. They're actually what got my channel started. I think I told you guys this before. I just showed people in a really poorly way. I didn't do a good job doing it. I know that now. Just how to read the crossover schematic and then how to build the crossover. and it was terrible. I think I did it in like 4 or 5 videos. Each video was like 20 minutes long. It was awful. No editing, just recording, half the time recording in the wrong direction. But and I, once again, I wasn't even trying to get a YouTube channel. It just happened because of that. So, yep. But and that might be part of my issue with the Overnight Sensation. They're kind of nostalgic because of that reason.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have built them. They've been around for a long time, and from what I understand, they sound good. People are happy with them.
You know what's funny is I built that boombox years and years ago, and I haven't listened to them in the past probably 3 years, 2 or 3 years. So I really couldn't even tell you what they sound like anymore. I mean, I could tell you what I remember, but you know what I mean.
So Blake Brockus understands kind of the theme of our show tonight. Got some expensive drivers and using a pair of the KABD boards. You and I have both reviewed that board at this point, and that's a really versatile board. That's a DSP board with 4 channels. I did do an amp dyno on that. Didn't put it in the video because something wasn't right about the setup. I wasn't happy with the results of the test. Not that I wasn't happy with the results. I wasn't happy with the test environment. They don't put out anywhere near 4x100 watts. Of course, they're not going to because those little chips aren't. It's just this tiny little chip. It can't do that much. But that would be kind of cool to watch to see what that turns out to be. So
yeah, and all of that depends on your power supply and your setup. I mean, I don't think anyone should realistically ever think 4x100 out of that type of setup either way.
I mean, this thing is as big as a cell phone, and they're saying it's 400 watts. It's like, I don't think so.
No. Don't worry, my camera's coming back on. All right. What is going on?
And let's see here. Make sure I'm keeping up with the comments here for a second. All right. And I tell you what, here's one that I noticed that I want to show real quick because I think it's a great place for us to actually segue into the topic 7 minutes after starting the show. Brian Steele is asking about the Legis Audio 1600 1.6 kilowatts for $65. Derek Williston did buy and test that amp. It's a Class AB amp. It didn't do anywhere near that. But I tested the brother to that amplifier, and actually the amp is out in the truck, so all I've got is the box here. I opened the box. I was like, where's the amp? Oh, I'm using it right now. I tested this one, and this is the 500.1D, and it is my first budget pick. And so the idea behind the show tonight is to just have fun talking about really cheap gear and really good gear and how some of it is extremely absurd on both ends. But this one right here is not absurd because it'll give you 500 watts out of it's now up to $65 as well. So there you go. That is my first budget pick.
And I would say too, when we talk about budget picks and things like that, you got to keep in mind, like a lot of times when we talk about budget pick, it's budget for what you're trying to go for, right? Like it may not be dirt cheap always. Some of the times it might be, but it just means good value basically. Because everyone's budget is different. Everyone's budget is different.
Yeah. Every build's a budget build. Budgets are just different, right? Budgets are just different. So there you are. So, hey, Baba has popped in with a super chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate it a whole lot. Baba's also one of my patrons on Patreon. Is he one of your patrons, Nick?
He is, yeah. He's an amazing guy. We actually talked quite a bit on the backstages. I can't tell you.
Baba, did you go to you went to Slamology, didn't you? I think I saw pictures of you there. I think that you were there as well. I don't know if I can get with all the comments today. I'm getting a lot of good ones I'd like to get to at some point. But the idea here was for us to kind of play off each other a little bit here. I name a budget item because I'll be the budget guy and Nick will be the baller guy. Nick, do you have a baller pick for a car audio amplifier?
Yeah, the Diamond Audio 8-channel amplifier.
What are you talking about? The Diamond Audio 8-channel amplifier?
It's not really that expensive when you think about it being 8 channels, really, I guess. But let me share my screen. Please do not get out.
Oh, I think he froze up. He's been having some technical difficulties over there, but I think I have that one on my screen. So let me see if I can share that. And we'll pull that one up as well. There it is. Let me add that to the stream. While Nick is waiting to unfreeze, I think this happened to him last time. We went to share a screen and it locked up. So this is one on the Down for Sound website. This is the Diamond Audio Micro 88U. Let's see here. We got two Nicks in the stream now with one of them frozen.
Yeah, get rid of the first one. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to have to figure that out because I have no idea. It's got to be something with my camera software and StreamYard not playing nice together.
And another super chat, David K. Thank you so much. You're recovering from Slamology, dead legs, dead back. I'm old. Yes, that's. I feel your pain. I am always dead legs and dead back. So I don't know much about Diamond Audio. I know they're expensive, but beyond that, I couldn't tell anything about them.
Well, I mean, the cool thing that it does do 8 channels, which is kind of nice. It looks like you can bridge each channel too, so you could either do 4 or 8 channels.
Okay.
Which looks nice. I don't know. I think it's kind of cool though. It's a marine amplifier too, so it should be good for hopefully water use would be my hope.
And it's 75 watts by 8 into 4 ohms and 100 watts by 8 into 2. Is that right, Nick?
Yeah, and I think the best way to use this would be to make it a 4 channel and just do 200 watts by 4 if you're really trying to drive, especially if you're doing it in a boat, because there's no real gain in a boat, right? So you might need the wattage versus when you're in a car.
I was thinking something like this is perfect for a 3-way front stage with rear fill, all on one amplifier.
Yeah, well, that's true. You could.
Yeah, that's
what
I was thinking.
3-way on the front sound stage, and then or you could do 2 ways, right?
Yeah, you could do a pair of 2 ways
in the front and 2-way in the back.
Right.
And then,
there's a lot to do with it.
And then you could make even if you wanted to do a 3-way in the front, you could still do a different amplifier for the woofer portion.
Mm-hmm. All right, here's something you could do with it. Might be kind of cool. 3-way front stage. So you got 6 channels right and left, and then the other 2 channels, one can go to a tweeter and one can go to a mid-range, like one of those concentric drivers for your center channel.
Yeah, you could do it. Do you know many people that use a center channel in a car?
No, not really. Most aftermarket stuff just goes with the DSP thing and time aligns to the driver's seat. So most car audio competitors just align to the driver's seat. Not many people are really doing the 3-seat tuner, really leveraging the center channel. I
mean, I know in my car there's a center channel, but in the same instance, I just don't think it's really that utilized by most people.
All right. Let's see here. I feel like I had some more starred comments that I wanted to bring up.
Mullen said he does.
Talking about amplifiers, 25 Hertz to Life asked if I was going to do any more reviews on the recoil audio. The recoil amp that I tested did a fine job of making its power, made a little more than rated, but I don't plan on testing any more of them. Our next amp up is a 1200 watt amp, and my current amp testing setup runs out of juice at about 850 watts, so I couldn't do it justice. So I probably won't be testing any of those. And here's a question for you, Nick. R4M845 has asked, with those KABD boards, can you use them to build a DAC/amp with them? I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that. I know they have a ton of different modules in that KEB line and in their other similar machines. But what do you think, Nick?
Well, I mean, the board by itself you can't use to build a DAC that I know. And I don't know that they have any boards in the KBD line that do a DAC that I know of. There might be, but none that I'm aware of. And so you'd be better off using a separate DAC with the amp.
Gotcha. Let's see.
Back it would be nice. Here. Speaking of DACs, actually, I have one right here. Which, if you ever
tell me about your DAC.
This is a Relic. If you ever go to my channel, I always have links to a Relic because I like them. But this is an up-to-stream HD DAC, which is kind of cool because you can like Bluetooth to this, or you can. I mean, there's all kinds of ways you can hook up to this, but. And then you can output to your your receiver or whatever, and it'll actually stream aptX HD. It'll do your high res and everything and stream it wirelessly to whatever device you want to hook it up to, which is kind of cool. I haven't really done a lot with these streaming DACs. This will really be my first foray into streaming DACs. I think it's an interesting idea for sure. Now, how well it works, I don't know. I haven't used it yet. They're not cheap though. They're not cheap.
No, I don't. I'm not really sure what I need a DAC for. I'm not really sure what they do for me. So, that's a piece of technology I don't really understand. So,
the basic premise is you'll get better sound quality.
So like you plug your phone into it and it then does a digital to analog conversion, and what exactly? How do I set a DAC up? Because it sounds like a piece of baller gear. So what do you do with one?
Well, I have a DAC right here hooked up to a headphone amp. And the way I have mine hooked up is via USB for the computer. So there's all kinds of ways to hook up a DAC, but you're going to hook it up digitally. So digital coax, digital fiber optic, Bluetooth could be one, USB, whatever digital one. And then it's going to convert it to analog, right? And that analog out could be either RCA or it could be a balanced output, which is what I'm using. I'm using a balanced output XLR to my headphone amp. And then it plays a higher resolution signal. So when you play things like Amazon Music and it says that they have Ultra HD or things of that nature, which will play in a significantly higher resolution, well, this DAC will allow you to play that. Where if you just ran that through, your computer sound card, for example, most likely you're not going to be able to do that.
All right. So Nick, I got a question for you. What is your favorite cheap subwoofer? Your favorite budget subwoofer?
Well, we all know it's the GRS.
You know it's the GRS, right?
Well, we all know. We all know. Yeah. And
because it is the cheapest subwoofer out there, the absolute cheapest.
Well, it's not only that. I mean, here's the deal. The GRS is only good in certain applications, but if the application is right for you, then it's a great amp. It's a great subwoofer. Now, keep in mind, it is not going to sound as good as an Ultimax 18. I'm not going to say it is, but if you do 4 of them in an isobaric configuration, it takes up that. I mean, you can get sounds that you should not be able to hear in $100 subwoofer. I mean, that 20 hertz will just shake your whole house.
But what makes it good is that it's cheap. Its cheapness is what makes it good, right?
It's good value. I mean, I don't think, I'm not going to say it's good because it's cheap. What it can do for its price is impressive.
Okay.
So I'm calculating 4 of them. I mean, you can do one just fine, and it does the same thing. It's just the same size box as if you do 4 in an isobaric. But yeah, that's another great. Yeah, that's another great one. And also the PA 460 is another 18-inch, which is a good one. PA 460 or the stereo integrity HD.
Let me read the comment for anyone who's just listening on the playback. The Notorious RVH said the best sounding budget sub is the Stereo Integrity HT18 for the win, $199 ship. That's an 18-inch subwoofer. It's an absolute beast. And Stereo Integrity is known for making some absolute baller gear, but that's going to be a budget baller for sure. $200 for a 18-inch subwoofer that's built well. That's a fantastic sub. I might need to go after one of those. So
what they basically did with the HT18 is it's made very similar to the Ultimax in a lot of ways, in the essence of like tuning and things. So a lot of times the HT18, and I haven't checked out the V3. This is the V3, so they may have changed their tuning, but it used to be that you could use basically the same type of boxes, like your Marty boxes for the HT18 and the Ultimax, and you're pretty much set. And that is a good deal. I mean, $200 for that nice fit 18-inch sub is a really good price. The problem with an 18-inch is, what are you going to get to power? Because the power is going to be the non-expensive part. I'm sorry, the power is going to be the expensive part, the non-budget part.
The expensive part, right? Well, in a car amplifiers, aren't expensive anymore. You can get a lot of power cheap, but you don't have enough power with a stock alternator. The expense in the car is the upgrade electrical system. You're going to spend $400 on a good alternator before you can run a big enough amp to really push a subwoofer like that. Mullen Performance Audio dropped an interesting comment. He said, whatever I have laying around my garage is the best budget subwoofer.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, Nick. I used to be a big fan of the GRS subwoofers, but I'm not anymore. And the reason is because they went up on their price. And now there's other budget subs out there that are just maybe a hair more expensive. You can jump on Crutchfield or Sonic Electronics and you can find an entry-level MTX or entry-level subwoofer. I did a test of one of their prefab boxes several months ago. And those, I think, are probably a better deal than the GRS because the GRS is expensive. But
hey, you're cutting in and out like crazy
for under $20.
You're
cutting under $20. Did you know that?
I don't know, but you're cutting in and out like crazy. So we didn't hear like anything you said.
Yeah, I don't know what. I have a sneaking suspicion that I've got my wife streaming in the other room and my kid gaming downstairs. So I'm betting my internet is being taxed right now.
Here's the deal with what you're saying. If I understand, yeah, there might be some MTXs which are $30 or whatever, and they're about the same price. But the GRS can do 20 hertz with authority, where the MTX is going to still be designed, I'm assuming, around 35 hertz or so. So it depends on what you're going for.
Well. Thank you, Baba, for your second super chat of the night. We really do appreciate that. That means a whole lot to us and helps us a whole lot, keep us motivated. But I want to show you this. I found an even cheaper comment. GRS. Oh, read it to us since my internet's kind of clicking out.
If you are a longtime lurker like I was, please consider subscribing so that you can participate in live chats like this one. And it's true. We really do appreciate that. And for the longest time, Baba was like behind the scenes for like ever. We were like, and then Baba said all of a sudden popped out of nowhere, and he's like, "Bam!" I had no idea he was behind the scenes for that long.
Yeah, El Fuego's got it figured out. My cat is clearly attacking my internet, so that's. But she's not biting my feet, so I'll take that. All right, back to what I was saying. I searched high and low, and I finally found. The budget GRS, it does exist that you can get a 12-inch GRS for under $20 now. It's there. And let me see if I can add it to the stream. There we go. $19.98 on the Parts Express website.
That's the woofer though. That's not the same thing.
Okay, this is it's the woofer, not the subwoofer. This is a foam surround 8 ohm version. But still, it's a 12-inch driver for $20.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider that. I would consider that cheap. I don't know that I'd consider that one budget.
It's. I didn't say it was good. I said it was cheap.
Well, yeah, I agree. The GRS subwoofer is one of those weird ones though, because it goes down low when you don't expect it to. The only thing is it takes a big box. And once again, that's like if you're looking for like a real budget home theater subwoofer, it's cheap to power. Cheap to build. HT18 is also a very cheap one, that $200 one. That's great. And the HT18 I'd rather have, obviously, but it's just a matter of can you afford the amplification with it.
So Nick, if you were a baller, if you were just going to say, I got plenty of money to drop on a subwoofer, what would you go for?
What would I go for? I don't know. I mean, I would. I would just. I'd probably do one of the new. I'd probably try the new. Was it the new one from Parts Express? The new like 21-inch. Was it like
the Kraken?
The Kraken. Yeah, I'd do the Kraken, not the Vortex.
You go for the Kraken.
I'd try it.
So Nick says that the Kraken is the baller version of this. That would be fun. That's a big subwoofer. I wouldn't mind having to try one of those. So that is my pick for an absolute budget subwoofer. So
I mean, it's $550, but you should be able to do this shield just fine, and then just EQ it. I mean, with a 21-inch, you should be fine. Either that or even the Vortex. And I haven't done a lot of simulations on the Kraken, but that's one I would like to have a crack at.
Oh, very good. Let me see if I can add a picture of the Kraken to the stream real quick as my internet just kind of bogs down tonight. All right. It hasn't loaded yet, but it's there. So, but yeah, the Kraken, when did they come out with the Kraken?
I was sometime last year or the beginning of this year. We'll see you, Andy. We'll see you later, man.
Yeah, don't watch the stream while you're driving. I don't want you to crash and die. All right, so my internet's not loading the Kraken, so and Nick can't share his screen, so we'll just have to not show you a picture of the ultimate baller subwoofer, the Kraken.
Well, it's a 21 incher, so it's not very many people are going to put it in. Although I did see one guy that built a van that put one of these in here. I was like, dang, man, you're going to like tear your van apart. I think he put 2 of them actually in his van. It was crazy. You almost need a van to be able to put that in there.
Hey, our good friend Tron Magnum. Tron comments on
yes,
a lot of my videos. I see him commenting all the time. I try to respond to comments everything I can. On the cheap end, Tron likes the Kicker comp. On the more baller end, Digital Designs. I don't know that much about Digital Designs. There's a shop in town that there's a guy who specializes in loud subwoofer boxes, and he is a Digital Designs dealer. So but I hear good things about him.
So here's what I feel like. A lot of the like higher end ones, it's not as much. Well, I'm not saying it's a lot of it has to do also with what it looks like. You know, it'll have like the high roll surround, it'll have the triple stack magnet, and it'll have the look that goes with the price. Where like we're looking at like all these budget ones, they're like, You know what? I'm going to mention one that most people would probably think goes more towards high roller, but I think it's more budget. I'm going to mention the Dayton Epic drivers, the 5.5 and 7-inch drivers. I don't care which one.
So you've made some builds with those, right?
I'm in the process of building with the 5.5, but it's so hard to get a good speaker that's Klippel tested real well. And most of the time you have to spend significantly more money. And the Dayton just does that so well that it seems like for the price that you're paying, even though it's a lot, is significantly cheaper than what you would be paying with other brands.
Blake Brockus says he should come on the show sometime to talk about Digital Designs. Apparently he works there, so that's really cool.
Yeah, he's got one right in his logo is a Digital Design.
Ah, yes. I suppose you're right. Yeah. Hey, we got another guy returning from Slamology, SD Design. Scott, how are you doing, man? Saw some pictures and stuff and some posts on Facebook. Sounds like everyone had a good time at Slamology. Everyone made it home safe, or is on their way home safe. So Nick, your baller mid-range driver then is the Epic driver, right?
Well, it also works as a subwoofer if you use it as some. With some passive radiators, it's really nice because it doesn't even need that big of a box. But I would definitely take it over the 5.5-inch Tang band if I was doing that. But yeah, I am building a 2-way with it, and I'll be using it as a mid-range.
How much does it cost compared to the Tang band? How much is the Epic driver?
Well, that Tang band is really just a subwoofer only, so that you're pretty much stuck with that. And it's definitely not going to be linear like the Epic is, but Tang band, it's about 60, maybe $70 now. It depends on which one you go with. And I have to double check that, but that's about where I think it is. And then the Epic, I think, is around 100.
I would say $100 for a 5.25-inch driver. That's getting up into the baller territory.
It's but not, you know what? When you look at some of the other ones that it competes against, they're well over $250 each. Oh, actually,
what is the baller equivalent of that? What is the $250 driver that you would put against that $100 driver?
It's the oh gosh, now you the one with the wavy design, the wavy. Why can I not think of the name right now?
Didn't Aaron just review that one?
Yeah, he reviewed it before, and we talked about it when I talked about the Epic 5.5-inch. I can't think of the name of it, but off the top,
I remember seeing the thumbnail.
Right,
yeah. So that one is the one you say is actually the baller build, then, right? Because the baller just spends money because they got money to spend,
right? And that's a 6.5-inch too. So it is bigger. So I don't want to pretend like it's different. But even the 7-inch is a lot cheaper. So.
El Fuego, thank you for the $5 super chat, or
it's
as he said, the budget super chat. Purify. Yes, that's the one. Purify.
Everyone's Purify. Yeah. Everyone's like, it's the Purify. And I'm like, yes, of course it's Purify. I'm like, why can I not think of Purify? It is a 6.5-inch woofer too. It's not a 5.25, but it's significantly more price. It's $411 for the 6.5-inch.
Okay,
so
that's what we're talking about when we're talking baller, man. Because the definition of a baller, according to Urban Dictionary, is someone who has plenty of money to spend and just spends it because they can, right?
Yeah, and I mean, but when you're paying it, when you're saying $400 to $100, now all of a sudden you're thinking, okay, now this is more in the. I'm understanding why this is a budget versus baller. Because you're right, it's not cheap necessarily, but it is cheaper.
There we go. Purify. I'll have to check out some of those big Purify speakers. But you know what? I am.
Very good.
I'm not. Blake's got the idea right here, right? It's like the JL Audio W7, which is, by all accounts, a fantastic subwoofer. But it's also fantastically expensive. And there are probably subwoofers that play a whole lot better all around and will beat it for a whole lot less. But the thing that makes the W7 awesome is when you have a W7 sitting in the trunk of your car, everybody knows you're a baller. That's why you buy a W7, right?
I mean, there are certain ones that, like Focal, for example, when you have Focal in your car, everyone's like, oh, you have Focal. Now, I'm not saying Focal's not good, but I'm saying, like, when you see Focal, they spent some money. Morel, we mentioned Morel.
Morel, yeah, definitely a baller brand as well. But there's some Morel stuff pretty affordable and good solid performance. But there's some serious baller stuff in the Morel line. If you want to show people that you have the money to spend, getting the Morel, I'll tell you, I know maybe I've told the story before, but I walked into an audio shop many years ago, and I'm looking at the various things, and I see a brand there that I wasn't familiar with, and I said, "Hey, what's this brand here? Focal," and the guy says, "That's Focal. It's French." Focal. And I was all like, yeah. And I'm not buying anything from you because you're an arrogant jerk.
I like what Brian Steele said. He said, hey, I think some of those Purify speakers bounced on every branch of the ugly tree on the way down and someone tossed them back up for a second go. And he's right, man. They are ugly. They are ugly. I don't like the surround
comment, or else I put it up. Where's the comment at? I gotta put that up.
A lot. It's up a lot. But you know what? He's
right.
Yeah,
it's right.
they are so ugly, but you know what? They're so distinctive that when you see them, you're like, oh, that's the Purify.
That's what expensive speakers look like, Nick. If you want expensive speakers, you have to have that look. That's why they're expensive, because they have that funky surround on them.
I mean, that funky surround does help them with their measurements. So, I guess you're right. I think it's cool. I'm actually interested in this M-Mag, like that Dayton Audio is doing, and seeing how well they can achieve that, because they said that they can do multiple stacks with that. So, I mean, imagine what you could do with like a multiple mag subwoofer in car audio that maintains its linearity. Like that'd be really cool. I'm hoping that I don't know if they're going to come out with them. That'd be really neat. Oh yeah, Purify did that to help with cone breakups at AJC.
Yes. AJC says that. Food Hates Me said Audio Frog is a great one too. I think the guy who made that brand's pretty bright fella. There's a really good. He was on the SQology podcast, and if you go watch his interview, Andy, I can't pronounce his last name. I can't pronounce things. Have you noticed that? Interesting story behind that guy. Paul Good is an authority on many of these things. He's obviously someone worth paying attention to. When I think baller brand, I think Critical Mass. So there you go, Critical Mass. I'm not any experience with them, but they're expensive.
I want to throw a name out there, and I want you to tell me which side of the spectrum it sits on, or where on the spectrum. You ready? Cadence.
I'm not sure what to make of Cadence.
Okay.
I just not. I don't know where to place them. Let's let the chat tell us. The chat is Cadence budget or is Cadence baller? Where is Cadence? Is Cadence good stuff?
Yeah. Well, we know it's budget, but the question is it budget cheap or is it budget value.
Value. Is it
Yeah.
value or is
Which
it
one is it?
crap? Is it
Yeah,
wait,
which one?
that should be the next show. The next show should be is it
Value
I
or
don't
crap?
know, is it crap or is it just cheap? Is it just cheap or is it budget? There's a difference, right?
Yeah, I think that's a valid question because the cadence line actually kind of looks pretty cool at times. Like some of the ones I'm like, oh, you know what, that doesn't look too bad. I can't say like looks great because it does, but some of the designs I'm like, that doesn't look too bad. But I have never used Cadence car audio. I've used their home subwoofer, which I said before, and my assumption is Cadence car audio is not good.
And so I'm with Brian here. I feel like there's some hit or miss there, right? Like, some of it's good, some of it's less good. And one thing too, I feel like the marketplace is saturated. There's a lot of brands out there that are just kind of also rans, not because they're bad or not because they're not a good deal, but because there's just so many other brands. I've got some Polk Audio subwoofer sitting over here and I like them. They're great, but like, who cares? They're just not one that people think of when they think about what's the best subwoofer or even what's a good budget subwoofer.
We need to see if we could contact Cadence sometime and say, hey, can you send us over some we want to find out how good your stuff actually is.
We want to know.
I'm curious. Like, I really am. Like, is it good? Because some of it doesn't look bad. I mean, it doesn't look unbelievable. I mean, there's some that I would look at and I'd be like, nah, that looks like the IQ gear. I don't, those don't look great, but I like orange. So Mullen says junk. Yeah.
Oh, Dodgy Brothers Engineering says Polk doesn't even come close to a decent sub. Ouch. Okay. Dodgy. Okay. So we're talking about the baller stuff here and the Purify stuff, the Epic drivers, nice solid mid-range drivers, right? Let's talk about some budget. And by budget, maybe we mean good deal. Maybe we mean it's bad stuff. Let's talk about some budget drivers. And I've got right here in my hand the ultimate budget mid-range driver. Do you know what it is, Nick? What is like the ultimate budget? This is like once upon a time, you could get one of these for $5, but inflation has popped in and now they're $8. This is the legendary Polycone buyout from Parts Express.
Ah, yeah. I never used those. It? No, I never used those. I can't speak to them.
So not a very big magnet, lightweight basket. It's just a just kind of gray Polycone driver with a poly dust cap on it. It looks like a rubber surround. It's light, doesn't weigh anything at all. But Parts Express has been selling these for years under the brand name buyouts. That's what they call them. And you think, oh, it's a buyout. It's some other brand and they happen to get their hands on it and they're reselling it. But they've been selling this thing for how long have they been selling this, Nick? I
don't know. I haven't really paid attention.
I mean, as long as I've been staring at DIY speakers, this thing has been there. And what you see people I think it actually looks halfway decent. It kind of almost looks like an Alpine driver, right? Some of the older Alpine drivers. Now, once you turn over the back of the magnet and see how small the magnet is, it sure doesn't. But that right there is the ultimate budget mid-range speaker. $8.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There you go. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think we should just say in general, you can find, I don't want to say, I'm not going to say that they all are, but you can find really good deals on Parts Express's buyout section, which can end up being budget friendly. So like, for example, one of my patrons said that he bought the Foster planar tweeters, which are on buyout right now on Parts Express, and he raves them. I haven't tried them, so I can't say either way, but he said that they're really, really good, the Foster planar tweeters. And they're $18.88 for a planar tweeter. So to give you to give you an idea of the cheapest planar besides the PT Mini 6, which I actually have right here, besides those, you're looking at least double that price, So I don't know. And those are smaller. So I don't know. It's an 8-ohm planar. Now it doesn't go way, way, way down in frequency. So it would be best to be used in a 3-way. But budget friendly, $18.88, MSRP $55 supposedly.
And it's going to look really cool. I mean, that's one thing about those different kind of tweeters. They look cool. They give your design a distinctive look. And we all know that if it looks good, it's going to sound good, right?
Well, yeah,
That's
and
obviously right.
I talked about this a lot too in my last video. Which, by the way, if you haven't seen that video, it is informative. It's about planar some planar headphones that I recently got for review by Edifier. They're called Edifier Stax S3. And it's pretty interesting because one of the reasons why people like planar speakers is they are low moving mass. Mm-hmm. And since they are low moving mass, they are often a lot quicker. And they give you more clarity because of that, because they're able to start and stop a lot faster. So for like planar tweeters and things like that, that's pretty cool. So I don't know, and it was definitely apparent, by the way, with the headphones that was the case as well. So I don't know. I think it's a cheap way to look at something if you want to try some out for, I don't know, what, $40 for a pair. There's a little planar, little tiny one. I still haven't used
Brian
these yet.
Got a question. Brian Still's got a question. $534 shipped for a 6-in, 6-out DSP with Bluetooth 5 and optical input. Is that budget or is it baller? Well, I don't know.
Sounds like a baller thing to me, in a good way. I mean, it sounds like it's would be nice to have.
I mean, the ultimate budget DSP is either going to be from PRV or the Dayton Audio. They've got some 6-in, 8-out. But I guess it depends on how good it is, right? I mean, things like Helix and stuff like that, that's definitely some baller stuff right there.
I mean, it sounds good to me. I mean, I would think, I'd be like, yeah, I'd want some baller. Check out some of Hi-Fi, man. And I gotta check those out. There's been a couple that people have mentioned. Someone had mentioned also the Argon MK3s, which are only $300. They're also planar headphones. Someone had also mentioned those. I'll have to check out the Sundaras because I am not familiar with the Sundaras, but I'm always interested. The truth of the matter is, and I should mention this, and they're only $300, so that's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
When we're talking about hi-fi headphones, and I don't know if these are, and I should mention, I don't know if these are and they are planar. Planar headphones start at $300 pretty much. There's like nothing lower than $300 that I'm really aware of that's worth anything. So when you talk about $300 to $400, it's like the low end. You can go up to like $4,500 easily on planar headphones. So $300 for hi-fi, man, like that sounds like a good deal. Period. The only thing that the Edifiers had that if you really want, well, actually, let me double check these, is that they're Bluetooth as well. So they're Bluetooth or wired, which was nice. These look to be, so I would be really interested in the Sundaras. Is it Sundara, you think, or Sundara? I think it's Sundara.
I think we've established that I have no idea how to pronounce things.
But I would be very interested in checking those out. And I might do that sometime.
Several people have commented about the Dayton DSP. It is 4-in, 8-out. That is correct. I was wrong. It's not 6-in. It is the DSP 408. RVH is correct. It's a $150 DSP. The output voltage is 2.5 volts. And so if you need a high voltage output, that's not going to do the job for you. So, but I have one. I like it. It gets the job done. I'm going to upgrade it. I've purchased an upgrade. It's a mini DSP 8x12. And eventually I'm going to install the darn thing. It's been sitting on a shelf for 6 months. And so that's my baller DSP is the mini DSP 8x12, which you can spend a little bit of extra money and buy a software plug-in to add Dirac Live to that. And by the time you do that, you're into it for about $1,000.
Yeah. And I think that's really the point that you're getting at is that, that we're kind of going back to is like, what is the value? Because I mean, to a large degree, I mean, being able to run Dirac Live, even on a mini DSP for that price is still pretty budget, and which is a good thing. but I would also consider you a baller for running it. So.
Yeah, I would think so. I would, yeah. We'll see how that goes. And as soon as I get that in the truck, the Dayton DSB is coming out. It's going to be used for my test bench setup as I'm working on building that out. Part of what I wanted to do was have a little bit of fun, kind of picking on a few products. And I've got one here that I kind of want to pick on. I don't necessarily want to insult the company who makes this, but this is the budget. And when I say budget, I don't mean a good value. I mean the budget wire. And so this right here is a Scosche install centric true 12 gauge hybrid OFC wires, 12 gauge power wire for an amp install kit. $13 and you get 12 gauge power wire, which is speaker wire. Please don't spend $13 on this wire. Do anything but that. And
I like the whole, they call it, I like how they call it high current.
High current, yes.
Which
apparently
it is like, at
watts,
6 inches or something.
Yeah. I know. I don't know what world you can get 270 watts through a 12 gauge wire. I don't think I'd want to do that. But I had reviewed some Walmart power wire that was this OFC/CCA wire in the past, and trying to figure out exactly what the heck that meant. And here's what that means. It's this hybrid wire, and you can see in the image down here, they've got strands of copper and aluminum inside the wire. So it's like, that's kind of weird, but oh well. That's what they're doing.
You know, a hybrid is always better.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Got that hybrid vigor going on. So obviously that is the way.
Throw that word up there. People are like, oh, it's a hybrid.
Yeah, it's a hybrid.
This is what Tesla has in their cars.
But so half the strands are copper and half the strands are copper clad aluminum, as I can't say the word aluminum as is famously known. But this is my budget. Please don't buy this. There's got to be a better deal on wire out there. Wire kit.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't even matter how you feel about wire in general. I mean, the one thing that we can all agree on is at least gauge does matter. And so, you know, if anything, you got to get higher gauge than that, right? You know,
and RGA is correct. And, you know, cheap isn't stupid if it works. That is absolutely true. But how much power are you going to get out of a 12 gauge power wire? I don't really think you can handle much juice.
2 watts.
And, you know, yeah, I think High Five Vega's on vacation this week. I think I saw some pictures of him out enjoying a beach or something on Facebook.
Yes.
And, you know, the baller wire is, of course, his, right? He sells some really good big 3 kits. He
does. And they're reasonably priced. So I guess this should also be a good time. And I'll mention this real too. This should also be a good time to mention that we will be on vacation next week. So there will be no sound advice next week since we're talking about vacation.
Bummer. I'm going to miss it, but that's okay. You got to take a break every now and then. So nothing wrong with the occasional break.
Correct.
All right, Nick, what else do you have? Do you have a budget or do you have a baller? What do you want to talk about next?
I don't really have anything else that I have to talk about. So why don't you talk about one that you have?
All right. I got this right here is the stuff right here. Are you familiar with this brand? The product listing says image research. The picture says image reference. Are you familiar with image reference? Do you know this home theater brand?
No, but those look like white van speakers.
Yes.
And for those that don't know, white van speakers are these people that will just take you and say, hey, look, I found these. These are $10,000 speakers that we have an overstock of, and I'll sell it to you right now for $1,000. And literally there's like no crossovers or anything. And they look like that. Anytime that someone like really mimics another company, like this is obviously trying to mimic Bose, right? With the Bose cubes.
Mm-hmm.
And then
right,
that subwoofer just looks terrible with all the everything in it. I mean, that houses the power supply, that houses for everything.
Exactly. Everything is housed inside of that tower.
Yeah, that's
And of course it looks slick. And let's see, what did it say? It said,
by the way,
$14.
$260 is about $259 more than this is worth.
So the white van scam has been around for a long, long time. And as Nick was saying, what happens is two dudes flag you down. They're in typically a white van, and they try to imply that they were, installing these speakers, these high end stuff in some rich person's house, but they put an extra one on the truck. And they're like, well, no one knows we have the extra one on the truck. We'll cut you a deal on it. And they are very hyper aggressive salespeople. Have any of y'all ever seen a white van selling speakers? I'm just kind of curious in the chat, because you would think it would be kind of old and tired. But what I noticed was a few years ago, I started seeing these pop up on Craigslist.
So I want to say what I think is the baller version of this, and everyone in the chat's gonna be like, "What did he just say?" And I'm gonna tell you why I think it's a baller version of this afterwards, because most people are gonna completely disagree with me, and I understand it. Bose. Bose is the baller brand to this.
By the definition of baller that I'm using for this episode, yes.
Exactly, right? Everyone that sees someone, oh, you have Bose? They're like, oh, you have a Bose lifestyle system? Oh. And it's like,
Right. I mean, by the definition that we're using for baller, I'm going to agree with you that Bose is a baller brand, and Bose has done some cool stuff over the years, but they're just really good at marketing.
They are. And by the way, when we're saying like Bose is the baller brand, we're not saying like we think Bose is like the one that you should buy. We're saying that Bose is the one that people that don't know what their people are talking about say, oh, you have Bose lifestyle, and they see it and they're like, oh, this is amazing. This must be good because it costs $3 to whatever it costs for a lifestyle system now, which I don't even know.
Bose is good, not great. Most people will be perfectly fine with their Bose stuff, and they'll pay 3 times what they should have paid for similar quality.
Yeah, so Bose lifestyle is $4,000. Obviously, I would much rather have a full surround sound, like a real surround sound system for $4,000 versus a Bose lifestyle. But there's someone out there that thinks the Bose lifestyle is the best thing in the world, and they spent $4,000 on it. Me, obviously not. No.
Right. I mean, this is great.
Yeah, that's called the Bose Wave Radio, man.
Oh, that's good. I wouldn't put Bose in my toilet music. And 25 Hertz to Life has pointed out that Soundman's bass van is a white van.
And did you see what Baba said? He said Bose is meh when you've heard better, and it's true. But I completely agree. Bose is not great. Bose like pulls out the mid range that most people don't hear. They're like, oh, that sounds great, and then you're like, but it's missing like 90% of everything else.
Scott Bowie here has paid the appropriate price for his Bose speakers.
You got free.
Tommy Kessler says those old school Bose 301s, I remember those things, were pretty good. I like those better than like their surround sound with the tiny cubes, because those tiny cubes just aren't going to do what a real set of speakers can do.
So I don't remember the 301s much. I remember the 901s. The 901s had backfiring speakers. And I think one of the reasons why the 901s people loved, which you had to, you should always make sure that you get the thing with it, basically the crossover and everything with the DSP with it. But the 901s were pretty neat. But I think the reason why most people like them so much is because they filled up your room so much with sound, because they bounced it off and they use the reflections of your room to fill it. I mean, now that we've learned so much more about music, we don't have to do that anymore. But I mean, there's still companies that do that. I mean, there's companies like Bonicky. Bonicky does that.
Justin Mai says that consumer lover Bose is trash, and he wishes more people could hear a room match, line array, and power match amps. I don't have any experience with the non-consumer stuff. Yeah. What's that, Nick?
Oh, he said it was a spatial equalizer. That's what 901 called that.
Gotcha.
Equalizer. But yeah, that's what it was. You're right.
All right, let's do some more. Let's do some baller gear, right?
All right.
Stuff that's just kind of crazy over the top, and maybe it's really good stuff. Maybe it isn't. Tell me what you think about $1,900 for a Kenwood Exelon reference digital multimedia receiver. Does not play CDs and DVDs. This is one of those that hovers outside the dash.
So I don't mind the ones that I actually like the 10-inch screens. I think they're nice. I really do like 10-inch screen. I would never pay $1,900 for something like that. I don't even think, does that even do like wireless Android Auto or anything?
I think it does. I think
So
it does.
Here's the deal. I love name brand products like this. I love Kenwood. I like Sony. I like, I'm not a huge Kenwood fan, but in general, I like those Pioneer, all those names. The problem with what I've come up with these types of units is that they are behind times. Like, I mean, all these off-brand Android ones, and I'm not saying that they're great units, but they've surpassed them in value typically. And I hate to say that because they're typically their quality is not nearly as good as the name brand, but they offer so much more for so much less. It's like, I mean, to get a wireless Android Auto system on any of these is like, I don't know, $700 or something. I don't know. I'd have to look again. I looked at a couple months ago and I was like, jeez.
This right here is the perfect example of what I mean for the baller for the purposes of this show. $1,900 is a bit much for a head unit, especially when you consider you're going to have to spend $200 or $300 more bucks on top of that to get all the connectors you need to integrate into your dash, into your factory radio. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, how much is an iPad and how much is an iPad dash kit? And let's go that route.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like, if I'm going to be paying, yeah, you're right. And the other thing is, like, if I can buy an Android head unit from China that costs, let's say, like $250 or $300, because you can get them now to do wireless Android in the 10-inch size in that range that are good. A Toto is one that's, I've had no issues with my Totos. I like them in that range, like the F7.
Are you still running it in your car?
The F7 I actually sold in my garage sale, but I would still be running it if I didn't. But I mean, let's just say one died in 2 years. Okay, I can buy a new one, and I'm still not even close to this one, where this one's going to be obsolete in 2 years probably. I don't know. I have a hard time. I feel like head unit manufacturers are like 3 years behind in their manufacturing, and yet they want 3 times the price. And it sucks because I would love to run a Sony or someone else. Yeah, Toto's my favorite off-brand head unit as well, by the way.
So I tested one off-brand head unit, and I've had others offer to send me, and I'm turning them all down because the one I tested was just terrible. I forget the brand name. I'm not going to mention it if I did remember it. But yeah, some of these off-brand Android head units are just it's hit or miss. It's really sketchy. That's one of the things I feel like it's a valuable service that we provide on YouTube, is that in order to make content, we'll go out and we'll spend $50 on one of these things, or someone might send us one, and we can tell you which ones are trash once we get our hands on them. So, but I don't like testing the ones that look like trash ahead of time, because those videos don't get many views, and and then you have to tell someone, hey, your product sucks, and here's a video telling the whole world that it sucks. So hit or miss. I'm glad you found a brand that works. The Toto is one that works. Stay away from the other Android head units.
Well, and it's not an Android; it's a Linux base.
Gotcha.
Which I think is the other issue too. With the Linux base, they just don't. You don't need a ton for them to run well. So, I need to look up these Soundman iPad dash units. I want to kind of see if they have any for some of my vehicles, because I'd be interested in that.
What they are is they're basically housings that let you slide in the iPad like a case, and then you have to custom mold it into the dash with the Bondo and whatever the case may be. So you've got to actually take your dash apart, cut it up, and then mold it into shape to make it work. So there's a lot of work involved in that. And if you're good at that kind of thing, it can look fantastic, and you end up with a big iPad on your dash. But if I had the choice between do the iPad dash and go through all the work and the expense of the iPad, or $1,900 head unit, I'm doing the iPad.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, I mean I don't mind that everything that you're talking about, as long as you can wire, get it to function correctly with your vehicle. That's the only thing, right? Because we know nowadays you have to buy like all these wiring kits and things of that nature. So it would be interesting to see how it wires up. I haven't looked into it.
So Nick, I know that you're a big fan of your screens for your home theater. So you've got the drop down screen. You've got a transparent screen. Is that right for your home theater? Is that right? An acoustically transparent screen.
An acoustically transparent screen. Yep.
Yeah, I don't have a good place to actually put a screen, so I'm going to have to go and I'm going to get one of these right here. What do you think about? It's not showing up. There it is. $8,000 an 8K TV that's 85 inches across the diagonal.
I'm actually really interested in this. I got to be honest. I am. I am really interested. I know it's
baller. Nick is trying to say that he's a baller and he's flexing on me. Yeah, I can get that. Yeah.
Isn't this their new OLED that also combines their quantum matrix or quantum dot matrix, which I believe it is? And in that case, I'm very interested because it is already what I consider the best technology for TV. So then you add in their quantum dot matrix. It's supposed to be unbelievable. I've never seen one. But I don't care about the 8K like everyone else. I don't care about the 8K.
8K for 8K sounds like a deal. Right. But there you go. There's if you're a baller, you need to go click on the affiliate link and buy one of those.
Scroll down. Dev Knoll says this is just their LCD TV. The other one's called a QD OLED. And I thought they were calling it a QLED or QD LED. So
no, it's a Neo QLED.
Yeah, well, Samsung's coming out. Well, I'm really interested in the new Samsung the QLED, OLEDs. I'm sorry.
Whack Donald says
it is
that
a QD OLED. He's right. But I'm that one I could care less about. It's just an LCD TV. It's way too much. my opinion.
But if you've got one of these, you're definitely a baller. You meet that definition of you've got the money, you're going to spend it. So.
I'm not paying $8,000 for a television, period, probably ever. But the QD OLED, if you get a chance to look that up, that's like new technology that's coming out, and I'm pretty interested about that. I would like to see it. I'd like to see that versus an LG right next to each other.
Yeah, that would be cool to see. I don't know if I can see the difference, but.
So AJC said a good budget brand is Hisense. I agree with a lot of the Hisense is a good bang for the buck. I also believe the TCL, the Roku TCLs. As long as you get at least their 6 series, a lot of those are really good budget friendly 4K televisions. They're usually like $500. Both Hisense and them are about the same price. They're both very good.
Well, there you go. I'm looking at the clock, Nick, and we've been at it for a little bit over an hour. And is there anything you would like to add before we wrap up the show for the evening?
No, just remember that we're not going to be on air next week. And if you get a chance to watch the Headfire headphone video, I'd just be interested in what you guys' thoughts are. I'm going to take a look at those Hi-Fi Mans as well. And I also have, so I'm gonna have to throw those on as well as the Argon MK3. And I will challenge you guys, if you haven't heard some planar headphones, they really are. They're really nice. I definitely am a fan so far of what I've heard.
All right.
Apex TVs for the win.
I think I've hit all the comments. Is Apex the budget brand, the not too good ones? I'm not familiar with TV brands that well.
Those are like the throw your money out the window brand. Yeah, they're gotcha. Cheap. They're cheap TVs, but they're not inexpensive.
Gotcha.
They're just cheap.
Oh wow, Baba! Here at the end
Baba.
of the show has shown up with thank you from the bottom of our heart. We really do appreciate that. It really means a lot to us when y'all are able to do that. Like I said last week, the money, of course, is nice, and we're not going to turn the money down. But we never know if you're having an impact on people. And when everyone shares a little bit of money, even if no matter what the amount, it shows us that we're having an impact, and the impact is what kind of matters. Are we actually impacting people? Are we making people's lives better? At the very least, are we entertaining somebody? So thank you so much, Baba. We really appreciate that.
Hey, I want to. So, can I
yeah.
real quick comment on Whack Donald's? You don't have to highlight it. Whack Donald said, "Hey, which is better, the Samsung or the TCL or ONN?" If we're talking about the budget one, which is what I'm assuming, since those, I would go with the TCL. I love Samsung, and Samsung's much better in the higher end versions of the things. But if we're talking about like bare budget, the TCL is what I'd go with, or the Hisense, either one. Which we talked about, the Hisense is also another good one.
All right, and Nick's breaking up again, or is that me?
That's you, I think.
Okay. All right. So as far as coming up on my channel, I meant to get a video out yesterday on the C-Note speaker kit from Parts Express, but that one got delayed for several different reasons, not related to the project, related to other things going on. And hopefully those will go live sometime this week. And when it does get finished for the edit, I will be uploading that one ahead of time for my patrons to see. So I try to give my patrons at least a few days of extra time to take a look at the videos before they go out to the greater world. So I got some cool things planned for the channel over the next couple of months. And looking forward to when cool weather hits, so when I can actually get out in the garage and do more work on the weekend. So, but that's all I've got. So Nick, I've got nothing to say other than I'll see you on the next adventure.
All right. We'll see you guys.
All right.